They can control Jay-Z and Beyonce,
But not you, man.
but they can't control me. You
Not
see,
you.
it ain't no name I won't name.
No one told you it would be like this. No one warned you that 2026 would be the year everything fell apart. The house of cards collapsed. But one man did warn you. He sat with Shannon Sharpe years ago and stared straight into the camera like he already knew the future.
He was the guy who told me about Epstein's Island more than a decade ago, and I thought it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, what are you saying? There's an island? Like, it sounds like a plot in a movie.
It sounded crazy. It felt like something from a science fiction movie. Then the Department of Justice released over 3 million pages of files, and suddenly it did not feel like fiction anymore. Now two of the loudest and most fearless voices in the country are both pointing in the same direction, straight at Hollywood. Here is what people are not connecting right now. The next names that will come out are going to shock you. You are not ready. Let's set the stage, because none of this happened in one night. And none of this story is by accident. When Katt Williams appeared on Club Shay Shay in January 2024, most people thought it was just drama. Just another Hollywood fight. Just another comedian trying to get attention. The entertainment media laughed at him. Blogs made fun of him. Even people in his own industry tried to silence him. But while they were laughing, Katt was calling out names. He mentioned Chris Tucker. He pointed at Jay-Z. He hinted about Beyonce. He spoke about industry plants, fake careers, and a Hollywood system built on silence and sacrifice. People said he was angry. They said he was finished. They said he should sit down and stay in his place.
In his lane.
I think it is highly offensive for people who are smart enough to really know what's happening.
Now, less than 2 years later, almost everything that man said has either been confirmed, is under investigation, or is buried inside 3 million pages of federal documents. This is where Joe Rogan enters the story. Joe was not focused on gossip. He was talking with scientists, conspiracy theorists, former government officials, and people who truly understood how power works in this country. Years before most of us even noticed, Joe's guest, Alex Jones, was warning him about a private island.
I thought it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. I was like, what are you saying? There's an island? Like, it sounds like a plot in a movie. There's an island where they fly famous rich scientists and politicians, and they compromise them with underage girls and get it on film so they could use it against them. Like, what? That sounds like lizard people.
It was not about lizard people, was it? It was real. It was recorded. It was organized. And it continued for decades in plain sight while the media ignored it. Celebrities smiled on red carpets and sat on talk show couches acting like everything was normal. Now those same celebrities are watching their follower counts drop and seeing their names show up in federal documents. The two men who tried to warn everyone, Katt Williams from the inside and Joe Rogan from the outside, are now pointing at the same wall. And behind that wall are famous names you know. Names that could break the internet before this ends. Let's talk about what really happened when the Epstein files were released. The mainstream media has tried hard to keep the story clean and controlled. In late January 2026, the Department of Justice released over 3 million pages of records, 2,000 videos, and 180,000 images, all connected to investigations involving Jeffrey Epstein. What made this release different was the huge size of it. This was not a leak. This was not a rumor. This was the federal government, ordered by the Epstein Files Transparency Act, being forced to open the vault.
The vault, tangled. You know, the whole thing's just, I think everybody who looks at it realizes this is a rabbit hole that just goes to the center of the earth. And there's so many people involved in that.
And that rabbit hole leads exactly where Katt Williams and Joe Rogan said it would. The files confirmed that Epstein was not a single predator hiding in the dark. He was, as Joe Rogan described, an asset and a fixer.
Jeffrey Epstein is part of a class of what are effectively professional fixers. And this is a kind of class of professional who sits not really within a particular government or private sector institution, but in the kind of sticky layer between them that connects them all.
He was a created figure. Think about what that really means. This was a man with a huge amount of money that no one could clearly explain. He had access to royalty, billionaires, and world leaders. The most powerful people on earth supported him. And according to Joe Rogan, his entire operation was most likely a blackmail system, with everything recorded on video.
But I think it was probably a part of a blackmail compromise effort.
Yeah.
Because those guys, there's a fucking dirty secret about these people that are in Congress and they party, okay? They're regular guys and regular women, and they're in their 30s or 40s or whatever they are, and every now and then they do coke, and they get drunk, and they...
And that is exactly how the system worked. You lure powerful people with the promise of privacy. You make them feel safe. You get it all on film, and then you have control over them forever. That is why so many names in the files are not just people who went to a party once. They are people who kept coming back again and again. Now, before we get to the next names, let's quickly review who is already in trouble, because the pattern matters. Jay-Z's name appeared in an FBI hotline intake form from July 2019. It was an anonymous claim about an incident around 1996 involving Harvey Weinstein. As soon as that document went public, Beyoncé's Instagram reportedly lost anywhere between 200,000 and 10 million followers, depending on the analytic source. Jay-Z and Beyoncé have both stayed completely silent. No statement, no response, nothing. And as Katt Williams already warned us,
Beyonce was on that island where they was kids.
Damn!
Yeah. Beyonce was on Pedo Island. Beyonce and the camel.
Yeah. They say she was in there like, uh-oh.
Now look, the comedian had been saying this publicly for a while, and now the wider public is asking the same questions. Bill Gates, the emails and the files revealed a story so different from the just a dinner version he had been sharing that even his own ex-wife could not accept it.
You know, I never went to the island, I never met any women, and so, you know, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
But Melinda Gates had already made her feelings crystal clear.
Just unbelievable sadness. Unbelievable sadness, right? And again, I'm able to take my own sadness and look at those young girls and say, my God, how did that happen to those girls, right?
It was many things, but I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
And you made that clear to him?
I made that clear to him. I also met Jeffrey Epstein exactly one time.
Did you?
Yes, because I wanted to see who this man was. And I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it after.
Naomi Campbell. She took 5 flights on the Lolita Express. Emails seemed to show her working with Epstein, and she lived a lifestyle, including her own private island, that no one can fully explain on a modeling salary. And when she was asked about Epstein directly on camera,
did you suspect what he was doing?
No. And what he's done is indefensible. And when I heard of what he'd done, it sickened me to my stomach, just like everybody else. Because I've had my...
And then there's Chris Tucker. He was caught on the Lolita Express and said it was a humanitarian trip to Africa with Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey. No one believed it then, and no one believes it now.
Yeah, I did. You know, we flew Bill Clinton and a lot of different, that was a humanitarian trip to Africa. And I met him on that trip because it was his plane. I didn't know whose plane we was getting on, but it was a...
Katt Williams called this years ago. He said, "The Chris Tucker we have now is not the same Chris Tucker we used to know." Everything since then has only made that statement hit even harder. Now, here is where it gets really interesting. The DOJ's letter to Congress, sent on February 15, 2026, included a list of over 300 politically exposed people whose names appear in the Epstein files. Some of those names caused the internet to completely freak out. Beyoncé is on that list, as are Bruce Springsteen, Diana Ross, and Bill Cosby. And that is just the official document. The real details are in the files themselves. Over 3.5 million pages that the public is still going through. That is where the real connections are being revealed. Let's talk about Oprah Winfrey, a name that keeps coming up whether mainstream media wants to cover it or not. Oprah has not spoken publicly about the Epstein files. Not even once. Her name does appear in the documents, though, not as someone accused of crimes. Her name shows up mostly through connections, media intersections, and social circles. But here's what people online are focused on. Oprah was close to Harvey Weinstein for years. She attended Diddy's parties, which were documented in photos that went viral. Her school in South Africa, the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls, faced a major abuse scandal back in 2007. One striking detail from the files shows Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, emailing Epstein for advice on how to answer questions on Oprah's show. Epstein was coaching people on how to control the public story about him using one of the most trusted media platforms in the world. Does this make Oprah guilty of anything? Absolutely not. But it raises the question of how much the most powerful media gatekeeper in America knew about the people in her orbit, and why she has chosen total silence rather than making any public comment about the most significant criminal network in modern American history. The internet is demanding answers. One viral post on X this week, shared millions of times, said the same thing. Oprah still hasn't said a word about the Epstein files. Mind you, she had a whole show about R. Kelly. That is the tension fueling this conversation right now. Now, let's talk about Ellen DeGeneres. Her name has been exploding on X and other social media over the past 2 weeks. The official Epstein files include Ellen's name mostly in media compilations and social references collected during the investigation. That means she appeared in materials gathered. It does not mean she committed any crimes. But what has fueled the online frenzy is this. Ellen abruptly left her talk show amid workplace culture allegations. She then largely disappeared from American public life and moved overseas. That timing, combined with her name appearing in the files, has sent conspiracy communities into a frenzy on X. For a niche that thrives on unanswered questions and obvious silences, Ellen disappearing from the public eye while all of this is happening is like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Doesn't it seem like you could just throw all that into AI at this stage of the game?
Yes.
And just redact the names of the victims and let's go?
Yeah, of course.
It seems like that would take 5 minutes.
I mean, it feels like, you can't help but feel like the administration is just like watching their back, and that's why it's happening.
That is the exact energy driving these online conversations because people are seeing celebrities go silent, watching the DOJ move slowly, and seeing documents released in very small pieces. People are making their own guesses. And in the age of X and TikTok, those guesses can go viral in just hours. Here is the part of the story that people are not paying enough attention to. It is one thing to say Epstein was a bad man. It is another thing to understand how a convicted sex offender kept friendships with royalty, Silicon Valley billionaires, and Hollywood elites for over a decade after his conviction. Joe Rogan explained how this worked better than anyone.
You're the former president of the United States. You can't go to a nightclub.
Yeah, he said, I think there are people out there that provide experiences for certain people that have a hunger for them.
Yeah.
I was like, of course. And that's also how they compromise people too, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's how they get you to vote the way they want you to vote and play ball, Bob.
This is the structure of the whole operation. Epstein was not just a predator. He was the system itself, a secret private black ops social club where the most powerful people in the world could do whatever they wanted, because there was nowhere else to go without being exposed. And once they were inside, everything about them was recorded permanently.
You got video, you sucking a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
What do you want to do? Yeah. Because, I bet all those people have something on them. That's how they stay in the game.
They have to.
And now think about what Katt Williams has been saying for years. You don't reach certain levels in Hollywood without crossing some lines. The people at the top are not there just because of talent. There is a transaction along the way. Sometimes willing, sometimes not. And once you cross that line, your silence is bought.
People like Jay-Z and Pusha T, they made their living our people. So how the f they gonna stand up for our people? You know what I'm saying? But we forget that because we love Jay-Z's music so much. We love Pusha's music so much, right? But you think they would ever, Beyonce had the best fit for somebody else?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You think they would ever tell the truth? No, if they told the truth, they'd go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So you have liars.
Man.
Liars are now the face of our culture.
Kanye said this in 2018. Joe Rogan has been saying the same thing from a completely different angle. And Katt Williams has been saying it from the inside. 3 very different people from 3 very different worlds all arriving at the same conclusion. The people at the top are compromised. They cannot tell the truth. And the files are proving it. Here is the part that should make everyone watching this feel truly uncomfortable. When you ask why the full story hasn't come out yet, why so many names are blacked out, why the DOJ missed its own release deadlines, and why 3.5 million pages are still being processed, the answer is not incompetence.
I think they have video. I think if you've got an island and you want compromise on people, you can't just have hearsay.
I would say I would agree.
I watched him that girl. Let's sue him. No, that's not how it works. You have to have video, and then you have to show it to the guy, like Mr. Clinton.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
That is the real story. The videos, the documents, the material that was collected specifically to control people. And if that material exists, and the evidence strongly suggests it does, then the question is not who is on the list. The question is who is still being protected today, while we watch celebrities go silent one by one. Representative Roanna said it clearly when the DOJ released their politically exposed persons list without any context. He called it a deliberate attempt to muddy the waters, putting Janis Joplin, who died when Epstein was 17, in the same letter as Larry Nassar, who went to prison for abusing hundreds of young women, without explaining how either name appears in the files, is not transparency.
The photo dump and the emails, nuts.
But it's also they're doing it so slowly. Like, you guys have had this stuff for a year. Like,
we were promised multiple times, it's coming, it's coming.
Doesn't it seem like you could just throw all that into AI at this stage of the game?
Yes.
And just redact the names of the victims?
That is all just theater. The slow pace is not by accident. The pieces being released in fragments is not by accident. And the silence from Hollywood's most powerful voices is definitely not by accident. Here is what Katt Williams understood before almost everyone else. This is not about one man on a private island. This is about a system, a machine built to compromise the powerful, control the influential, and make sure the people who should be the voices of culture, the celebrities, the moguls, the media titans, were too bought, too recorded, too exposed to ever tell the truth. And the machine worked for decades. It worked perfectly. Katt Williams tried to lift the curtain, and they called him crazy. Joe Rogan had Alex Jones warning him for a decade about islands and blackmail operations. And at first, he thought it sounded like lizard people. Everyone who tried to connect these dots publicly was laughed at, discredited, or quietly pushed aside.
Truly Babylon if this is the case. And so I would never speak out about it too much because I didn't want people to be like, what the f you talking about? Like, there's no way, it's Pizzagate. If somebody told you about the Epstein, and you'd be like, man, come on now, this billionaire is really taking, and what, because I don't want to f it up, but.
Even the people who knew couldn't speak out without being destroyed, because that is how powerful the machine was. But now the machine is broken. The files are out. The names are on federal documents. Follower counts are dropping. Executives are stepping down. A law firm chair resigned after his name appeared in scheduling emails. A former prince lost his royal titles. And yet, somehow, the biggest names, the ones that could truly collapse the entertainment industry if fully revealed, are still protected by redactions, delays, and a media system that prefers celebrity puff pieces over digging through 3.5 million pages of federal evidence. The public on X is already connecting the dots. One post this week said, "The scariest part of the Epstein files isn't the names, it's how many people are still untouchable." That post got hundreds of thousands of shares because everyone watching this story feels the same way. The information is there. The patterns are clear. And the people who should be held accountable are somehow still free. Katt Williams said it directly. Joe Rogan said it in a different way. The machine compromised people so completely that even the cultural icons we trusted to reflect the truth were either participants or prisoners. Figuring out which is still the work being done. So where does this leave us in February 2026? According to the DOJ, the Epstein files are fully released. No more documents are coming. No new charges are being filed. The official position of the United States Department of Justice is that the matter is closed. Over 3 million pages are still being read, cross-referenced, and connected. Names that have not yet hit the headlines are quietly sitting inside those files, waiting for someone to find the right email, the right flight log, or the right photograph. Katt Williams is not done. He said all lies will be exposed, though he did not give a deadline. Joe Rogan is not done. He has been having these conversations for years, and the files give him even more material. And the public, 50 million people who visited the Epstein file archives in the first week alone, is not done. The real question was never who is in the files. The question is who has enough power to stay protected even after the files are out. Watching that answer slowly unfold, name by name, silence by silence, deleted Instagram comment by deleted Instagram comment, that is the story of 2026. Katt Williams tried to warn you. Joe Rogan tried to warn you. The only question left is, who is next? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Who do you think will be the next major name to fully appear in these files? And if this video connected any dots for you that the mainstream media refuses to touch, you already know what to do.